Good evening, everybody. Time for the second game of the season. Savannah State comes to town. We talked about David and Goliath last week, Tim, and as you mentioned at the luncheon, shoes on the other foot this week.
Well, it really is. You know, I think Savannah State's going to get that smooth stone out of the Savannah River and bring it up to Glen Bryant Field, Paulson Stadium on Saturday, and take their one shot at the Georgia Southern Eagles, who represent Goliath this time. If they can make their shot perfect, you know, they've got a chance, great opportunity to come in and beat Georgia Southern.
I think one of the interesting things about this ball game is how both teams are going to react. Sometimes they say after an emotional win, a team's low, and they've had an emotional win over Bethune-Cookman. And after a game where we thought that you know, we could have played well enough to win against a big team like Auburn, we might come back to show something.
Well, we didn't play well enough to win last weekend. We did some good things. I think it can be a confidence builder for us, but we got to understand we can't be satisfied with a moral victory. Our fans can't be, our players can't be, our coaches can't be. We've got to win the football game. If you win on Saturday, everything else will take care of itself. And we're 0-1 right now. This 1991 football team has not won a game yet. And we need to try to get in the win column somehow this Saturday against Savannah State College.
And Savannah State looks better this year. I know a lot of people might be judged from last year's game what happened, but this is a good football team.
Well, they've got a good quarterback, LeVerett. He's an option-type quarterback. He can run Georgia Southern's offense. They've also got a tailback named Cole, who's got a lot of ability. Those two combined from over 300 yards rushing against Bethune last weekend. I really like on the defensive side of the ball, I really like Orlando Dean. He's a defensive man. I believe he's number 51. And Jerry Bird, he's like a defensive tackle. I think he's number 95. I think those two guys are super football players. Coach David, this Savannah State football team is in great condition. Their kicking game is probably the best it's ever been. I think their offensive line, the Savannah State offensive line might be the best one they ever had. This is a running football team and not a passing football team because of the great running ability that the quarterback has. And they want to run the football, and they run a lot of the same plays we do, but they run them out of the I formation or a pro set. So I think our kids will be excited about playing at home. I think this is a good rivalry. Savannah State always brings a good crowd. I think the last two times we played, we had 21,000 one time and 19,000 another time. So I think it'll be a good game. I hope we continue this rivalry throughout the years.
Hope so, too. And we'll see you Saturday afternoon.
We'll be there.
All right. And we'll see you with the first half highlights of the Savannah State game right after this. It didn't take a brilliant offensive strategist to realize the Georgia Southern offense wasn't feeling its oats in this one. On the Eagles' first possession, Lester Eford tried to turn the corner on a 1st and 10 play at the SSC 34, and all he got was clobbered by Jerry Bird for a yard loss. Nor did Charles Bostic's second down keeper bring the Southern fans to their collective feet either. So on 3rd and 10, the coaches thought a pass to Darrell Belzer might be in order. It was complete, but the rules specifically say you have to catch it in bounds, and Darrell didn't. So it was time for a cool one. David Cool, that is. He came in and with total disregard for the narrower goal post put it right down the middle. Southern led 3-0 while holder Don Norton couldn't believe what Mr. Cool had just done. and also agrees someone at the NCAA should be flogged for not moving the hash marks in this season, too.
That's crazy to me. You know, the pros have it in there even. It makes it a lot easier. David Cool's done a real good job in practice, and he did a real good job today. On that first field goal, I had an awful hold. He had no business making it, and he's a great kicker, and he made it. He did a good job.
Southern had the ball back in 2 plays following a Jim Mutimer interception at the SSC 35. And for a moment, it appeared as though they'd make the most of the opportunity. On a 4th and 1 play, Darrell Hopkins got 4 to the 22, and on 2nd and 10, Lester Eford scooted 11 yards through a hole opened by Rusty Parrish, Kevin Morris, and Miguel Ayub down to the Tiger 11. It seemed only a matter of time as Lester hit left guard and bulled his way down to the 3 for another 8 yards of his 83-yard total. But fate had other offensive plans. On 2nd and goal, Bostic's pitch to fullback James Williams was anything but textbook perfect. Williams' juggling act won't get him an audition with Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey either. Savannah State's Orlando Dean, however, couldn't have been happier. SSC was in business at their own 4. Desirable field position it was not, and here's just one of the reasons why. After losing 3 yards on first down, Greg Leverett lost the snap on the next play. He did, however, manage to fall on it in the end zone for a safety, and Georgia Southern led 5-0. Easy enough to see why the College Football Hall of Fame hasn't been begging for a copy of the game films.
You know, we've got a long way to go on offense and defense. We can continue to improve on defense. We got to continue to improve in the kicking game. And we got a long way to go on offense. We don't have as much maturity as we need. We need a bell cow. We really don't have a bell cow right now to step in the huddle and take charge. We're slow getting in and out of the huddle. It seemed like we didn't have much zip.
But if the offense wasn't getting in the groove, the defense sure was. On this first down play, Greg Leverett went upfield for 6 yards to his own 30. But on 2nd and 2, Leverett's pass intended for Clarence Phillips out on the flats was broken up nicely by Rodney Oglesby. And when Riley Jones came in to punt, he took 1 step too many. Nobody picked up number 18, Sean Austin, who had a clear path to Mr. Jones, blocked it, and the scramble was on. Mark Giles finally found the handle and the promised land, and it was 12-0 Georgia Southern. Eagle defenders were having the time of their lives out there, and it was far from over. They'd now scored 9 points, a feat not unnoticed or unappreciated by the offense. Center Rusty Parrish.
Yeah, the defense did a great job, and we got to be able to take the ball and drive it down the field to keep the defense off the field, because if they don't score, we can't lose. So we're just going to have to work harder.
The Southern Inhospitality Committee was up to its old tricks. No sooner had the Tigers gotten the ball back when it was turnover time again, as Leverett rolled left and fired right to Eagle Kevin Whitley, who intercepted at the 31.
We looked on the film. They like to hit a lot of quick out routes, so you know, we knew what to expect.
Feel like, I mean, the heat had to be a tremendous factor here today. We were running people in right and left.
Yeah, it was a big difference from last week. It was a night game. I think a lot of us sucking our wind, but hopefully we pulled it back together and, you know, got better. This should help us farther in the season.
So maybe it was the heat, as the Eagle offense continued to show all the excitement and enthusiasm of a Communist Party rally in Soviet Georgia these days. And a 2nd and 6 pass to Shafton Fraley made it 3rd and 10 when Patrick Dean gave Shafton the shaft. And the first quarter ended with Charles Bostic's quarterback draw that came up 2 yards shy of what was needed for a first down. So the second stanza's first play found David Cool going for a 45-yard field goal. And as you watch from behind, it was just barely off to the left. The offense again missed a golden opportunity the defense had given to them on a silver platter, an item that seemed to bother the coaches more than the defensive specialists.
We're just out there. We know that we're a little ahead of the offense right now, and we're just out there trying to get as many turnovers as possible to help the team out and get them good field position to allow them to put points up on the board.
That's our job. You know, anytime the offense can't get it going, you know, the defense has to go out. If it means we have to score, that's what we have to do. So, you know, we're a team, and if one part is lacking, the other part has to pick up the slack. And we just had to do that today.
There were a lot of crucial turnovers at opportune times, and our defense made the best of them. And it gave the offense good field position and a chance to provide the knockout punts and put some points on the board. but we were very, very sloppy on the offensive side. Really, I think the heat and the state of mind had more than anything to do with it than anything else.
A change of quarterback seemed to do wonders for the Tigers as Chad Alexander called his own number and raced 15 yards from the 19 up to the 34 before being tripped up by Darius Dawson. Next, Alexander got the air war cranked up with a missile to Dedrick Smith, who was cut in two by Brad Allman, but not before the Tigers had gained 17 more yards. The defense would shine again, though, as Rodney Oglesby forced Clarence Phillips to fumble here, and Paul Sickley dove on it to literally wrestle the ball away for the Eagles. A change of quarterbacks for Georgia Southern, however, had little effect. Derek McGrady in for Charles Bostic couldn't light the spark either. Bostic had taken a pretty hard shot to the shoulder. So Don Norton came on to punt, and after darn near having it blocked, Norton almost brought rain with this beauty that went halfway to Metter. Doug Grant simply had nowhere to go after that one. Still in the dying minutes of the first half, Chad Alexander and company were able to put together enough of a drive to try a field goal. Alexander, working out of the shotgun, had the Tigers in range with plays like this to Dedrick Smith, as Savannah State worked the clock to perfection on the drive. But Brian Shuey's 47-yard attempt on the last play of the half was blocked by Clint Averett. You'll have to take my word for it. Still 12-0 Georgia Southern at intermission. And stick around, we'll be back with our halftime guest, assistant head coach Mike Hodges. Ladies?
Hail Pisces, Georgia Southern Football 91. We'll be right back.
Coach and off. It's a pleasure to have as our guest at halftime Coach Mike Hodges, who is in his second year with Georgia Southern. He is the assistant head football coach and offensive line coordinator. Mike, just a tremendous job that you had to come in here your first year as college coaching last year, and you were faced with a rookie line, basically. You got those guys to gel. This year, it's obvious that they're playing very well again.
Well, Bill, we do have some people back up there. Of course, we're missing our senior starter, Danny Smith, who's had some injury problems and kind of limited his play. But we do have some experience back. Got a good young, still young. I have only one senior on the line of scrimmage, but they're playing pretty well right now. You talk about offensive line, it probably epitomizes what team sports are all about. And, you know, in most other sports where a ball's involved, you know, you're going to get your time at bat, or you're going to get to dribble the ball, or you're going to get to kick it or do something. As an offensive lineman, sometimes during the course of a whole season, you don't get to touch the ball that you're playing with. I think that epitomizes team concept. It is a nasty job, but somebody's got to do it. And offensive linemen are special people. I think they got a special heart for the game because they do epitomize team concept and what it's all about. So those guys are special guys anyway, and they've got great attitudes and great hearts about them, and they're not that hard to motivate.
I think with guys like Rex Nottage and Miguel Ayub and Rusty and all those fellows up there on the front, they just seem that they epitomize what Georgia Southern means, because they came together last year and really decided to do something and have improved on that.
Well, that's right. We struggled up there early last year, particularly with the inexperience and the youth and not much playing time. But I think after going through all the peaks and valleys of last season and the maturity and the experience that they've gained, hopefully you'll see this offensive line do nothing but get better. And at the same time, we are still young with only one senior, Danny Smith, so that's a big plus for us too. But we get a lot of leadership out of Rex Nottage and a lot of leadership out of Miguel and Rusty, these people that aren't seniors but are back from last year's squad, and they're doing a good job encouraging the young players and setting a good pace and tempo out there at practice. So if we can continue to work and strive each day to be a little bit better day than we were yesterday, I think we'll get where we want to get.
Old television commercial used to say, it's what's up front that counts, and you guys have made it count.
Hey, appreciate it, Bill.
Okay. Mike Hodges, our special guest at halftime. He is the assistant head coach here at Georgia Southern and the offensive line coach, and we'll see you with the second half highlights of the Savannah State game right after this. Now, Eagle faithful fully expected Georgia Southern to come out for the second half and ride roughshod over the Tigers, but any resemblance between that thought and reality was purely coincidental, or so it seemed when Lester Eford fumbled on the very first play and James Gaden pounced on it for Savannah State. And talk about your great field position, it was the Tigers' ball at the enemy 20. Chad Alexander then proceeded to throw two passes, one to wide-open Lucius Cole that was too low, and the next one to equally wide-open Dedrick Smith that was too hard. It ricocheted off Dedrick right into the waiting arms of Paul Sickley, and it was Georgia Southern's ball at the 6.
Yeah, we had a lot of picks today. Mine was a scavenger one. Darius Dawson broke up the pass, and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and was able to make the interception. Yeah, it was a big play. They were down there, sudden change manu. They were at least a field goal, and we're just down there trying to at least hold them to 3, if not make a turnover.
It was not until Georgia Southern's third possession of the third period, which in this game didn't take long, that the Eagles began to put together any kind of a drive at all. It began with Lester Eford galloping a dozen yards off left tackle. Lester was the workhorse for sure, getting more transportation time than UPS, with 9 yards here, 8 yards there, as the Eagle Hogs kept opening the holes. Then, just for a change of pace, Charles Bostic got loose for 8 more, up to the Tiger 48. It looked so promising, but on 3rd and 7, Bostic rolled out to his right and came up 6 yards short of the first down, indicating that it was obvious something was amiss.
And we were unable to really put together a drive today. And that was kind of disappointing. And it kind of goes back to last Tuesday, where we had to send the offense off the field because they were really not in the right state of mind to practice on Tuesday, and they were saving moral victory last week. And I had been preaching to them all week, but evidently I didn't do a very good job getting that point across to a football team on the offensive side. Now, the defense had pretty good practice the rest of the week, and it's kind of obvious the way they played today.
Well, I think Savannah State came out and played some real good defense. Maybe we had some mental lapses, and, we didn't play as well as we should have.
Our defense kept things kind of on an even keel for you today.
Yes, I think our defense gave us some great opportunity and, got the turnovers and made the play and, we just couldn't capitalize.
On a positive note, it was a record-breaking day for interceptions as the Southern In-Hospitality Committee picked off 7 in all. One of them came when Chad Alexander was way off target and Paul Carroll, who just stopped a play on the ground, just happened to be in the flight path for this one, intercepting at the 45, returning to the 27, and even though he fumbled, it went out of bounds. Still, to their credit, the Tiger defense stuffed the Eagle offense, and Southern was forced to go for a field goal. No sweat, however, for David Cool, who calmly drilled it right down the middle from 42 yards out. 15-0 GSU. Then an individual interception record tied and broken within minutes. Chad Alexander overshot his mark on this play, and Rodney Oglesby snared it and made a nice return, only to be stripped of the ball at the end of the run, and an alert Doug Grant recovered for Savannah State just before going out of bounds. But if at first you don't succeed, 3 plays later, the interception record that had been set by Taz Dixon, which Oglesby had just tied, Rodney broke when he made this incredible leaping interception of Alexander again. Congratulations on setting the new interception record here.
Thanks. I'm glad it's over with now. Nobody put any pressure on me, In fact, nobody even mentioned it, but after everybody else started getting interceptions, they were like, well, it's your turn. So, I figured it would come to me sooner or later.
Well, never mind all the sustained drive nonsense. Let's just do it all at once. And as hard as it is to believe, Ripley, you're looking at the offense's only touchdown of the day. Charles Bostic went sprinting out to his right, spotted Terrence Sorrell behind the defender, and it was off to Never Never Land, and a 22-0 Georgia Southern lead.
Came out on the corner, and the defense was coming up because of my running ability, I guess, and, Terrence is a great wide receiver, and he turned, and I knew what he was doing, and I just gave it to him.
Charles, we were a little worried about you when you went down with that ankle injury last week. How you feel?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm feeling real good. Hopefully I'll be 100% next week.
Meanwhile, Rodney Oglesby was becoming the new human vacuum cleaner, skyjacking yet another Alexander aerial as the third quarter came to an end. Give Rodney 14 career interceptions and counting. Up 22-6 late, the scoring for the day wasn't quite over yet. With most of the crowd filing out and the diehards utilizing Taco Bell Frisbees as fans, there was one more treat. Another drive fizzled, what else is new, and Don Norton went to punt. Only he didn't. Instead, he threw a perfect strike to Rodney Oglesby, who made a great run for a touchdown, catching Savannah State completely off guard, and the final 29-6 score. Say, Don, going out for quarterback next week?
I sure would like to. You know, I played it a little bit in high school, and then they made me a dang kicker, and I was real surprised that no one went out and covered Rodney. But he's a great player, and he deserved a touchdown after having 3 interceptions and everything. He deserved it, and that's why he did it. It wasn't to run up the score or get anyone over in Savannah mad. They're a great team. They played a great game today, and it was mainly for Rodney.
It was funny. In practice, we had a little trouble completing it the other day on Thursday, but it's a punt-pass option type play, and it's where, you know, you don't have to totally fake the ball if you don't want to. If nobody covered him, so we threw it out there too, and they were probably max blocking, sending the house. So we thought it was a good time to do it.
And Coach Towers will have final comments after this.